All right, good Monday afternoon. We are back after a little break from the spring break week with another edition of Inside Franklin Athletics. Today we have with us a very special guest, something that kind of came together over the weekend because I bugged him a bunch on Twitter before he finally said yes. We have with us a 2004 graduate of Franklin Community High School, the pride of Bargersville, Indiana. He played college baseball at Dayton from 2005 to 2007. Then he transferred to Wright State from 2008 to 2009, where as a first baseman, he was the 2009 Horizon League Player of the Year. And 2011, he started his coaching career off at the University of Michigan as an assistant. And then he realized that there is only one good team in the Big Ten, and he left there, went to Western Kentucky, Wright State, then Wright State as a head coach in 2017 and 2018, where he was the Horizon League Coach of the Year. On July 2nd of 2018, he was named the head coach of Indiana University baseball team. He was the 2019 Big Ten Coach of the Year, coaching the Big Ten champions. And really 2020, because the season never started, so it hangs over. That's kind of a rule. In 2020, they started off strong, going 9-6 to start the year out of a possible 175 games that they play. I believe that is correct in my research. They had 3 road wins, defeating the number 11, 17, and 30th ranked teams. And of course, they beat Purdue 1,075-1, which was fantastic. He is also the most decorated of our Twitter person. Is that right, Chaz?
Sure.
Okay. That we've had so far with over 8,000 followers. So this is going to be a great podcast because it's going to start our worldwide domination that we are looking for. We have with us Indiana University head men's baseball coach, Jeff Mercer.
Thank you. I'd say that's quite the introduction. That's probably the best one I've ever had before. That was really well done.
Let me tell you something. Here's what I pride myself on in podcasts. It is no research. So we had my brother. I don't know if you know my brother or not. I think he was a few years older than you.
Yeah.
But I researched that for 35 years. So I knew that. Other than that, I actually just made things up and made stupid stats up. But with yours, I was like, I can actually find stuff. Did you know you have a Wikipedia page?
Not until now. I'm afraid what's on there. I'm afraid that would be scary.
Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot.
Actually, most of this stuff is on there.
Was there a picture? That's when you know.
No, there was not a picture.
Mm-hmm. You haven't reached that top tier yet.
I haven't made it yet.
What we may do is take a picture of this and then put it on there as his Wikipedia.
That'd be good. Coach Mercer, 2.5 weeks in self-quarantine. That's a profile picture. Good.
All right. So, Coach, first of all, how are you handling 2020? Quarantine 2020. It sounds like you're handling it great.
I'm actually very fortunate. Everyone is safe in my family, which is certainly the first and foremost of concern. But we live south of Bloomington, about 25 minutes. We live on a big farm. We got 40 plus acres, and our closest neighbor is like a mile away. So it's been nice we actually still live with my parents while we're getting our house remodeled. So be home a little bit, spend some time with my wife, and we've got a 2-year-old son. So it's nice to have him recognize me now and actually know who I am. Mm-hmm. I joke, but it's really not that funny. For the first 1.5 years of his life, he thought my dad was his dad. When I would leave the house, he wouldn't be concerned. When my dad would leave the house, he would start crying. And so the last couple of weeks, I've started to turn the tide on my dad and kind of gain a few points back. He knows who I am. So I've been outside a bunch, been running the tractor and working outside and just kind of doing things I enjoy and spend time with my family. So I'm probably, as far as quarantining goes, the luckiest guy, in the Midwest for sure.
So it sounds like when the world really falls apart, the Mercer compound is going to be pretty safe out there.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have any concerns about anything like that happening outside of the fact that I would be terrible and awful, but for us out here, we wouldn't miss much. We wouldn't skip a beat.
Now, do you have do you play golf or anything? Like, can you go out there and swing a golf club, or do you just like when we were 7 years old, you just throw the ball up in the air and swing yourself?
The only bat or ball or anything that I've had the last 3 weeks is just my son's little toddler set, the little wiffle ball. So no, I'm a terrible golfer. I'm mostly bad at everything besides baseball and deer hunting. So besides that, I'm pretty bad at most things.
Nice. Well, hey, you've got time. You got out there. Maybe you can work on your golf swing when you got that. But yeah, it's weird because there's a lot of baseball players say that they're not good golfers because it messes with the swing. Is that right?
Yeah, it's just such the swings. A lot of folks say the swings are similar from a biomechanical standpoint, and there are a lot of carryovers, but there's a lot that's different. And the swings are different enough to where you have to really focus on one or the other for the most part, unless you're a great athlete. And there are some guys that can do whatever. When Scott's on our coaching staff, and
right.
Scott will walk out and be a great golfer, or I'm like, Scott, how do you do that? I'm like, you're a Hall of Fame baseball player. How do you golf? He's like, I don't know. I just do. It's like, that's great. That's great. And give like 3 or 4 pointers, and I'll go from hitting the ball between my legs to just shanking it three balls over. So he really helped me get a lot better. But for the most part, you have to study it so much and understand it that
yeah.
Most baseball guys just don't take the time.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot of work to be good at a habit that, in the grand scheme of things, does not necessarily mean anything. So,
right. Right.
All right. So all we've talked about for the last, I don't know, how long has it been, Chaz? It seems like 3 years, but
days have lost meaning at this point.
I don't.
Irrelevant.
So we are going to switch gears here a little bit. Now, do you go by Jeff or Jeffrey?
My mom calls me Jeffrey, but most everyone else calls me Mercer or Jeff.
All right, we're going to go with Merce because I like that.
Okay.
So, all right, Merce. So, young Merce, did you go to Franklin growing up?
Yeah, so we moved a little bit when I was young. So I grew up in Franklin. When I was kindergarten, first grade, we moved to Greenfield. My dad started an indoor baseball facility in Greenfield. We moved there for 2 years. When I was in elementary, we moved back, and I went to Hopewell, which is no longer one of the schools. Turned into Creekside. Went to Hopewell for, I think, 4th and 5th grade. Then I went to Custer Baker and then to Franklin. Yeah.
Okay. And then obviously your dad was into baseball. So was it kind of always something that was ingrained into you?
Yeah. My folks always, they supported whatever it is that we did. There's 4 of us boys. And I can remember at one point, one of my brothers decided to not play baseball and to go into swimming. And that was fine. It was just, you needed to be doing something. You needed to be active. You needed to be working towards something. And I gravitated towards baseball. I wasn't a great athlete, naturally gifted. Baseball was something that I could work hard at. It was a skill acquisition sport, and my dad did it. And so I think like a lot of children, especially boys, they want to be like their dad. And I took to baseball at a young age, and I wrestled. I played football. I was a terrible basketball player, but I tried it a little bit. And baseball was just always something I was really passionate about. And again, it was a way for me to get to spend time with my dad, like we all wanted to do. And he guided me in many ways, and he still does to this day.
Do you like when growing up and playing baseball with the dad who's the coach and in charge of that? Did you feel any extra pressure whenever you played or anything, as far as I have to be good, or did your dad really help kind of tamper those expectations for you?
I wanted to be good for myself, but as a young person, again, I wasn't unique in this, but I wanted to be good because I think a lot of that was the expectation that I was supposed to be good. And my dad was the coach, and he is an incredible person. He is an incredible person. But he was hard. He was hard on me. He was hard on all the players, and I wasn't different. I didn't receive a preferential treatment. If anything, maybe a little bit firmer at times. And I was the oldest of 4 boys, and so I'm the first one to come through. Ian, the coach's kid. So it was a little harder for me at a younger age, middle school to early high school, to kind of wrap my mind around some of those things. And as I got older, I understood it better and I handled it better as I went. But I did feel that as a young kid in a small community, like Franklin, and where everybody knows everybody, and everybody knows the coaches and the coach's kid, and the expectation of playing time and being good enough to really have earned it. And there was some. It made me better for having gone through that, and especially now in the line of work that I work in, where there are a lot of expectations and of opinions and a lot of thoughts on, well, should you have done this or should you have done that? It does help to prepare you to have thick enough skin to manage being an athlete or a coach that's a little bit more in the spotlight than most lines of work.
Yeah, it's interesting because you are, like you said, you're in the spotlight so much with that and the decisions you make, and you kind of have to say, this is why I'm doing this, or this is why I'm doing that. Was that, as you were growing up and playing baseball, and you're playing for your dad, was that kind of when the coaching bug hit, or was your goal like Major League Baseball?
I wanted to play professional baseball as all kids. I was a really good young player. I was when I was in 6th and 7th and 8th grade. I was a really good player. I was far advanced for my age, and so those aspirations, I thought that, well, those are realistic. I mean, I could play Major League Baseball, and I got to high school, and again, I was a really good young player. Those things were still in my mind, and I would say probably my sophomore to my junior year, I stopped growing. I had a hand injury in my junior year of football, where I lost the use of my right ring finger and part of my right hand, and I had a really bad junior year of baseball. And for high school, I had to relearn how to use kind of my whole right side. And that was kind of time where I was like, I'm probably not. I may play professionally, but I'm not going to make a living playing baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I need to think about what else I want to do. And I always knew that if I didn't play, I wanted to be in it and be around it. My mom's a teacher. Most of my family's in education. My dad's in education. And I like that. I like to teach. I like to help. It's just, people are satisfied and fulfilled in different ways. And that satisfies me. It fulfills me knowing that I can help and I can give of myself. And this is the one area that I know a lot about. So I knew probably as a 8th grader to sophomore year that coaching was probably what I wanted to do someday. And then by my junior year of high school, it was like, that's what I'm going to do. I need to begin preparing for that, for when my career does come to an end, be it after college or after a short professional career. And then really every decision that I made thereafter was with that in mind, that if I can learn this, I need to learn all that I can, because I'll someday have to teach this. Right. And that really helped to shape the decisions that I made through high school and college.
I gotcha. So how did you get back to Franklin?
When I was in elementary school?
No, after, when you went to Greenfield?
Yes. So I'm trying to think about the timeline. So I was probably in 3rd grade or 4th grade when we came back. So we were in Greenfield. He ran the facility, and then I think he was when he was named the high school coach at Franklin. It was when we moved back to Franklin. We moved out to Borgersville. I forget why we moved back there originally. Actually, he interviewed a couple places. And he finally got the Franklin job. I think we just liked the community so much when we had been here before, and the indoor, the instructional, the lessons and whatnot. He was doing really well. We were very successful. I just don't think it fulfilled him the way that
Yeah.
other things had, and so we came back to Franklin. My mom was a teacher at Whiteland, so it's kind of a natural progression back to Franklin, and when loved it.
Yeah. That now was that big baseball barn or what, the one out by the high school, was that built when you guys came back, or was that in the process, or how was that?
So that was built. That was built when we came back. I was probably in sixth or seventh grade,
Yes. So
maybe a little.
that would have been like 96, 97, something like that, I think.
Probably yes.
Yeah.
Probably yes. So they had talked about building an indoor facility, and finances are always a concern, and you're trying to raise money and this and that. Well, the one thing that they had, now again, this is from my remembrance of it, right, when I was at that time, but there was a lot of the parents that had, they had worked in construction, or they had different skills, and I think there was one of the parents was more of a large scale donor, and then we just built it. The parents built it. It wasn't like they had it done by somebody else. I can remember being out there every day with my dad and all the parents. Now the parents had the construction background; they had their own companies, but
Right.
the parents were out there and the players were out there. They built it, and it was incredible. It was very exciting time for all of us, but for a kid to be out there in the middle of that and watching your dad do those things and knowing that, hey, I'm going to get to do this too. I'm going to get to work out in here and use this and play high school baseball here. It was thrilling.
I remember. So it was when I think I was a senior, junior or senior. It was so it'd been like I was class of '98, and
Yep.
so I think they had just had started that indoor facility,
Yep.
and it was the kids who I was in the class with, and they came in one morning after a morning practice that your dad, I think, was kind of frustrated with them,
I can imagine.
and they had blisters all over their hands. It was just swinging the whole morning. And I even remember, and I can't remember what the quote is, but it's some quote by your dad. It's in the yearbook about repetition being about the importance of repetition, but I don't remember. What was the is there any workout in particular that you remember?
I remember the boys telling a story. The guys that were older than me, Craig Bland and some of those guys. I'm so good friends with Craig Bland, but
yeah,
I remember them telling a story about they had played poorly and or maybe not even lost. Maybe they won and just were really sloppy. And my dad wrote a practice plan. In the practice plan, they just they did sprints or ran or push-ups or whatever for an hour or two, and at the end of the practice plan, the players like tore the practice plan up and ate the pieces or something silly, right? When you're a kid, and that sounds funny, and they still love to talk about that. But probably from a personal standpoint, I can remember when he took us down to Barron River. We would go down on a spring break trip. We would stay in his cabins, and his assistant coaches were Mark Pieper and M. Carney, and I had a bunch of assistants, but those were the guys that I grew up with. And I can remember Emmett. Emmett's actually my youngest brother's godfather, and he's like a second dad to me. But I can remember Emmett running us up and down the hill, hollering and yelling and just really putting it to us. But I loved it. Like I remember how much fun it was there with my teammates, and we were all dying together, but it was our own. And there was a sense of, I loved playing for my high school for Franklin more than I enjoyed playing for any other team. And I got a chance to play, when I played for the Bulls, we went to 5 straight national championship games and won a couple of them. And we got to go all over the place. But I loved playing for Franklin because these are the guys I grew up with. They were my friends. They were the kids that I went to elementary school with all the way through. And there was just something about running sprints up a hill and doing sit-ups uphill and push-ups downhill with Coach Carney hollering at us and with my buddies that was just a great sense of belonging and community. And many of my most fond memories were memories like that, where it's like, why was that? Why would you like that? And I loved it because I was part of something that was bigger than myself, and it carried a lot of weight with me.
Is there a game or a specific memory from a game that from your time playing at Franklin that like sticks in your mind that you can like just go back to immediately, like when you think about it?
Yeah. Unfortunately, my last game,
Yeah,
where I pitched and Southport beat me like a pinata, and we almost cleared the benches, and we got run ruled in the sectional. That one, unfortunately, isn't it funny? That's the first thing you think of is that one. But
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
You buried the lead there. What? Wait. Take us back here a little bit. We almost cleared the benches.
yeah, that's a big.
You can't gloss over that. Yeah, we almost got in a huge fight, but they beat me really bad. Let's see. No.
Well, that's funny. I didn't think about that. It kind of came out. So I pitched. I started, and I threw terrible. Like I was throwing like 78 miles an hour. I was terrible.
What did you normally pitch? Like
I was mid 80s in high school, and I threw a little harder in college. I was never a really hard thrower. Not like kids today. Like 84, 87 today is it's not what it used to be. I was a good high school pitcher, and but guys didn't throw as hard then as they do now. But so I got beat up really bad, and they took me out probably in the third or the fourth. We were down. I think Bart Carter came in, or Thomas Hamlin. Bart played professionally for a while. Was a really good pitcher, and I said, hey, we're not getting run ruled. Like I screwed up, but like don't let us get run ruled in our last game. Okay, that's something like that. And Southport had a shortstop. I won't say his name, but he was a really good player. I mean, he was a really good player, switch hitter. Played college. I think he played professionally. I mean, this guy was a real prospect, and he was like 7 for 5 that day with like 5. I mean, he killed me. And so I was playing first base after I got pulled, and so when you're playing first base, and the guy hits a no doubt double, you pinch the inside corner of first base, and then you trail him to second base, right? And so I pinched the corner, and I'm mad. So I pinched the corner, and I was like probably standing on top of the base because I was ticked off because he hit like his 5th double of the day. And so he comes around first base, and I was probably standing too close to the base. He takes like a half swing at me with his left hand coming across the base, and I kind of dodged it. And I chased him to second base, and I'm hollering at him, and we getting pushing and shoving to second base. We were not actually. I assume we were not going to fight. Everyone jumped in between. So with the benches clear, and everybody comes out, and they come out, and I'm just like a frustrated 17 or 18-year-old kid that my last game of my high school career got my brains beat in by Southport. So. It was. I probably was too close to the base, and he probably had the right to not, or he had the right to take offense to like, what are you doing? And that was how my high school career ended. So,
okay, so no one holds you back. Would you have taken him?
I don't know. My dad probably would have whipped my tail faster than I could have whipped his tail.
Hey.
So,
sometimes, I mean, he didn't need to swing at you.
He didn't. But I was a really good wrestler, and I was a lot bigger than him. So I felt like I was probably in a good
There
position.
it is. Plus, think about it. You're ticked off.
Yeah.
You're like 17 to 18. This dude had a day on you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little extra coming through you.
Oh, I was ticked. I was hot, and it was not his fault, but in my eyes, it was his fault, right? Right. I mean, you're a kid, right? You're in the moment.
Yeah.
And he's a great player. He went on to be a great player, and he was really, really good. And I was mad at him because he was better than me. Yeah.
So I have a question about one of your former coaches.
Yeah.
Do you ever remember a coach of yours being confused for a player? Oh, so we had A House on.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can definitely see that. I
So
can definitely see that.
he said it was your freshman year, I think, and you were on JV for a few games
Yeah.
because he said it was before he started hitting bombs and he was JV. I didn't have him for very long, but he said you guys were in a huddle and the ump came up and
Yes.
do you remember that?
Yes. Continue, but I do remember it now. Yeah.
So he said the ump came up and said, "Hey, I need to talk to your coach." And A House looked up and was like, "Yeah, I'm the coach." And the ump was like, "No, seriously, I need to talk to your coach."
Yes, I remember that now. I do remember that. He was a great coach. He was a great baseball coach. He was a really, really good pitching guy. Very smart. I always remember him. He was really good at teaching a changeup. He threw a really good changeup, and he taught that really well. And he was adamant that guys learn to throw a good changeup. But he was a great communicator. You know him, like his demeanor. He's so calm and level-headed. I learned a lot. I really endeared myself to him. I really enjoyed him a ton in the time that we were together.
Yeah. What was that, like 3 weeks before they brought you up to varsity?
Yeah. It wasn't, but I was still around him a ton because he worked with the pitchers and I actually was more of a pitcher in high school than I was a position player than a hitter. I made the North-South team as a pitcher.
Okay.
And then once I got into college, I blew my shoulder out like everybody does and became a hitter. So, but yeah, we spent a little bit of time together. But he's an awesome guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So you said like pitcher, and you were a pitcher for most of high school. What was your best pitch, and what was your worst pitch?
My best pitch, I always threw a good breaking ball. So I could throw a really good curveball. I threw a good slider. My fastball was fine. I threw hard enough to beat most high school hitters, but I could throw a good breaking ball. I could throw it for a strike. My worst pitch. So when I hurt my hand, so I hurt my right ring finger. I used to throw a really good changeup, a good straight change. But once I hurt my hand, I couldn't throw a changeup anymore. So I learned a cutter. I didn't know it was a cutter at the time, but it was a cutter. And so I was trying to find something that would work either like just short or down or just slower, something that wasn't a fastball or a breaking ball. Because after a while, your two-pitch guy gets beat. So we were playing at Center Grove. You guys remember JB Paxson? JB was a great player and a good friend of mine, but played professionally for a long time. But like a transcendent high school talent. And so I had learned this cutter. We're playing at Center Grove, and I never threw well against Center Grove for whatever reason, because most guys don't throw well against Center Grove, especially back in the early 2000s. I mean, they were cooking. I mean, they were shipping out.
They had when I was there, they had Zap.
Yeah, they had Zap and Nicky Jameson, and I mean, just like guy after guy after guy. They had a bunch of good players. So it was like two guys on down, first and second in the first or second inning. Paxson comes up, and JB was like, JB was like 6'3", 250 pounds in high school of like solid muscle. He was like a top 10 defensive end recruit in the country, if you guys remember. And JB's walkout song was the Darth Vader, da, 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 right? So it was like the Darth Vader walkout song, and he lived up to it, man. He was so good. So I got a 3-1 count going, first and second, and 1 out, probably in the first inning. And I was like, I got it. I'm going to throw him a 3-1 cutter. And he hit it on top of the buses in left field. He hit it like 510 feet. I mean, it was one of the most unbelievable things I've ever witnessed in my own two eyes. So that was probably the worst pitch I ever threw. I scrapped the cutter after that.
Yeah, I was about to say, did you ever throw that cutter again?
No, I threw it in the garbage is where I threw it. As soon as I walked off the field.
Dude, that's like the scene. It's like a scene out of a movie. Is this huge dude just comes out. You're up there. You're like, this guy is one of the top 10 football recruits in the nation. He's a great baseball player. I just picture you, and I'm sure it wasn't like this, but you're like, your jersey's kind of loose on you. It's like this, if we're in a movie, and you're just like, you know what? Pitch I've never thrown that's really going to take him off guard is that cutter.
Is that cutter?
I've
I
tried
learned
it.
that cutter in the bullpen yesterday. I'm gonna throw it in the biggest game of my life. Right. Yeah.
3-1, 3-1. Yeah, he's gonna hit this as a dribbler right back to me. I'm gonna get
Right.
out of the gym. And
Yes, he was like Jack Parkman from what was that? What was that? Major League. Jack
yeah.
Parkman. Yeah, Paxton. Yeah, he and I wasn't the only guy that he put a hurt into. He put a hurt into a lot of guys. Man, he was a great player.
And then you probably heard that sound, and like right when you heard it connect in your head, you're just like, shouldn't have thrown that cutter.
I should have thought about that longer than I did. It's like every idea is a good idea until like you're touching real life. It's like, you know what, this sounds like a really good idea, and then like you have to like actually do what you planned on. It's like, this was so stupid.
It's horrible.
Why
did I do this?
Why did I do that?
That's awesome.
I do that all the time still, but that was a bad one. Yeah,
so you got a few more questions for you. We don't want to take up too. I mean, actually, I don't really care. We can take up all your time. We can sit here and talk all you want, but just consider it for you. So you're first base.
Yeah.
You're the first person people get to. Are
Right.
you a talker there?
No. That it always drives me nuts. So I coached the base running at Indiana, and Coach Simmons and I coached them together. But it's one of my biggest pet peeves. It's like, I don't know why everyone that gets to first base, that you guys are all of a sudden like long lost friends. Like you've just been separated for a year, and you haven't seen each other, and you grew up together. It's like, you don't even know this person. Why are we talking to him like you're best friends? It's like you have a job to do. Like you're late to get the signs. You don't get a proper jump. You don't get your secondary. That's like all because we have this infatuation with talking with the first baseman. It drives me nuts. I was not. It was like I just did my job. Like I was there to do my job. You're here to do your job. And no, I didn't. I'm not sure if that's what you meant, but that bothers me. Sorry.
Did you? What about trash talk?
I didn't do this, but I have a good story about that at first base. We were playing. If you have a minute, right?
Yeah.
We have so much time right now. It's unbelievable.
You just want to go get your yearbook, and let's just go through game by game.
We have no sports, so this is what we have.
That's a good point. So we were playing at Kokomo. We're up in Kokomo. It was my senior year. I was playing first base, and my second brother, Daniel, was a far better player than me. I mean, he was a great player. The day before, the week before, we were running poles on the warning track, we're doing sprints or whatever, and he stepped on a ball and rolled his ankle. Right, so I'm playing first. My brother Daniel was on the bench. He had tried to play, and his ankle was all swelled up, so he's on the bench with his leg propped up with a bag of ice on his ankle. Right, and they had a really good player at the time, and big physical kid, nice guy. Later on in life, I've gotten to know him, but he walks. I know what it was. Our pitcher, we were getting beat, and our pitcher was not real good. And he hit me with like a 58-mile-an-hour curveball in the back. Right, he hits this kid, and the kid looks at the pitcher like, "What are you doing?" And like it was on purpose, and everyone's kind of like, "Come on, man! Like just get to first base." And my brother's on the bench in the dugout, and he's hollering at him. He's like, "Get to first base." He was like, "Quit looking at him," and da-da-da-da. So the kid gets down to me at first base, and he's like, the kid's yelling back. He doesn't know it's my brother, and he's yelling on the bench. He was like, shut up before I come in there, or whatever it is. And my brother was an all-state wrestler. I mean, like a all-state caliber middle linebacker, all-state wrestler, caliber wrestler, like a great athlete, and like, in all reality, a bad dude. Like he whipped my butt as a sophomore in high school, and so I'm like, listen, man. Like I know that you don't know who that is. I'm like, but you don't like that's not the guy that you want to talk to. I know he's got a bum ankle, but I'm telling you, like he's gonna fold you like a pretzel if he comes out here. So he's like, yeah, right. Like who is it? I'm like, it's my brother. and he beats me. Like, he beats me up. Like, I'm telling you, he's gonna hurt you if you go over there. And so long story short, the guy ends up, like, we go back and forth, and he ends up, like, he kind of knows me because we were both good players on the circuit, and he kind of ends up, like, backing his way down. And I go back over between innings, and I'm like, "You're lucky I talked him out to come over to the dugout, because he was going to kick your butt over here with one ankle." And he's like, "There's no way I would have taken him. But that was the closest that I got the trash talking at first base. Besides the time that a guy swung at me, and then I broke up a fight in between my brother and a kid on the other team at first base. So that was probably as close as I got the trash talking over there.
Now, so if you come around, if you're coming around first base and someone starts talking to you, did you just ignore them?
Yeah, for the most part. I didn't get into it too much, but if there was ever a problem, you're going to stick up for your guys and your teammates. But if there was ever too much of an issue, I would handle it, but not too much.
Okay, so give me a time, because obviously, you sit here and you say, "Oh, I stopped. I was a great younger player or whatever." But I mean, you're a Division I conference player of the year, so you're a great baseball player. What's like the hit that you remember that you're like, or is there a hit that you remember and you're like, right when that hit, that thing was gone?
Yeah,
like your was it Roy Hobson moment?
Yeah, I would say probably my favorite moment, and You're right. I went on to have a really good college career. I just wasn't a really natural player. Like my junior year of high school to my freshman year of college, I was very pedestrian by those standards, by the Division I standard, and then I got really good later in college. But my senior year, we were in the conference tournament. And we were down by 4 or 5 runs to, I can't remember who it was. Down by 4 or 5 runs in the first game or the second game of the tournament. And like in the 4th or 5th inning. And it was getting like, we weren't supposed to lose this game. It was getting kind of close. And I had been named the conference player of the year. I was an All-American. And so I led off the inning. And the first pitch I saw, I hit a home run to left center. And I thumped it. I hit it really good. I hit it way out. Around the bases, now we're down by like 4 runs. We go on. We hit around. We bat around in the inning. And I come back up in the same inning. There's 2 guys on. There's a guy on first and second and like 1 out. And now we're up by a run or up by 2 runs. And I get into a 2-1 count, and he throws me a 2-1 fastball, and I hit another home run in the same spot. I murdered it. And I kind of watched it for half a second. Not bad. I didn't do that stuff much. I sprinted the bases, but like it was one of those moments where it's like I just hit 2 home runs in the same inning, and we just won this game. And then we went on to win the conference tournament and go to a regional. But that moment was probably one of the ones that I look back on that
that's pretty cool.
Was really cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Was it the same pitcher?
I don't think so. That would be a really bad day for that guy. Just like my bad day for JB Paxton. That would be a really bad day for that guy.
So just kind of stepping back a little bit, and you talked about how you figured after you hurt your hand and everything that you had to come up with a different pitch or one because two pitch pitchers get beat, like you said. Was that something that you came up with on your own, and have you always like looked at the game more as a coach and through a coach's eyes?
I had a coach. I think I was working with a different guy, and was talking about that pitch, and so I kind of picked it up listening to him. I've always been like that because I guess I know that I was more talented than some, but on the scale of being a great player, on the scale of like the guys that I coach every day, I wasn't a very naturally gifted player. So I've always been very process based. It's always been really important to me to find a way to be competitive, maybe when I shouldn't have been or shouldn't be. So that really has helped me. The thing I learned early on can I separate my emotions from the outcome? Because if I become so emotionally attached to the outcome of a situation, then I'm not able to really evaluate myself and evaluate the process in which I went through to try to get where I wanted. And as long as I was working towards where I wanted to go, I was okay with whatever happened. But I wasn't okay with self-evaluating and not doing what I felt like I should to be as good as I could. So that idea really carried from as a player, and then going into coaching, it translated really well, because I can look at a player and I can say, okay, so when I went to college as a walk-on. I was like on 2% back when they could do different percent. So realistically, I was a walk-on with one Division I opportunity, and I went from the last guy on the team to an All-American, the player of the year, the best guy. So it's like I can understand where the walk-on's coming from and the guy that's just trying to survive, and I can understand where the best player on the team's coming from, and be relatable to both of those groups of guys. And I think all of those things, they go back to how you perceive the process versus how you perceive the outcome. And that's a really important piece I learned early on.
So does it frustrate you when you deal with guys who don't have, I guess, that drive like you did? Is that something that you have to kind of, as a coach, obviously you're going to deal with kids who don't have that as much and are just more naturally gifted? Is that something that's hard, not hard for you, but is that something that's more frustrating for you as a coach?
It used to be more frustrating than it is now. What I've learned is everybody has a why. It's my job to figure out what it is. So there's a reason that people do whatever it is that they do. And so as a coach, I can sit here and say, okay, that person frustrates me because they don't think exactly like I think. Well, they come from a different background. They have a different family. They perceive situations differently because of the way they were raised. We are the culmination, the outcome of our of the experiences that we've had through life. So my frustration early as a coach would be, why don't you think like I think? And as that transitioned into, how can I think like you're thinking and then manipulate your thought process to get you to where you need to be at, that's when I became a really good coach. And that's where we have to be able to be empathetic and say, you don't think like I think right now. I need you to listen to where I'm coming from. I'm going to listen to where you're coming from, and let's work to where you want to go. And the main driver is why. Mm-hmm. So it's like people want to be famous, people want a partner, and they want money, right? That's what most young men want. That's what they want. So it's like you work within that to get them to where they can, truthfully, our best place, our best motivation is to just be satisfied and fulfilled, knowing that I'm the best version of myself. Like, I'm doing this because I'm the best I can be at this, and that's all that matters to me. I'm satisfied knowing that I did the best that I could. But many times with young men especially, you have to use the universal motivators, right? Power, a partner, right, and finances, to get them to understand what they're trying to do is really just to be the best they can be at whatever. I tell guys when they first walk in, like the first team meeting, it's like, I don't care if you play baseball or not. I don't care. You can play baseball if you want. You can quit today if you want. You can do whatever you're passionate about. You should do that. And if you're going to do it, just be the absolute best that you can be at it, because that's what there's no other point in doing this. So if you're going to do it, I'm not going to walk in today and motivate you to do it because you're telling me this is what you want to do. And that's how I was as a young player, and growing up in Franklin as well. Like, this was just what I wanted to do. And I had a lot of people in my life that were guiding me on how to do it. Mm-hmm. And that was what I was really thankful for the community and the coaches and the people that I had. Was if I wanted to play football, if I wanted to wrestle, if I wanted to be a doctor, I would have had the same support from my community that I had that I wanted to play baseball. And that's what I've always taken from the community, but how I've applied it into what I'm doing now.
I mean, to me, it sounds like, your goal is to get the best out of the kids as possible, and then the winning and everything like that will take care of itself for that. Is that kind of your philosophy?
Yeah. The outcome is the most uncontrollable part of it. It's the most uncontrollable piece. So if I can, I tell guys all the time, when I wake up every day, I don't say, hey, I want to wake up today and we're going to Omaha. I want to wake up today and I want to win a state championship. Like when I wake up today, I want to teach the guys how to break their glove in the right way. Like, how do I get the lead off of first base appropriately? Because if I can control all the controllables, then the outcome is going to be what it's going to be. And ultimately I have no regret. I have, like, with my career, I have zero regrets how my career ended at Franklin, how my career ended in high school. I have no regrets. I didn't play in the big leagues. I didn't make any money playing baseball. I actually went deep into debt playing college baseball. But I have no regrets. I did the most that I could with what God gave me, and I enjoyed it the best that I could. And ultimately, what more could we want from our careers than that?
Right. So, as a coach, then what do you look for in a recruit that you're recruiting? And also, I mean, do you check their social media? And in kind of this age, it seems like with kids doing so much, like, do you look at, oh, this kid pitched, I'm not really a big baseball guy. I don't know a whole lot like numbers wise or anything, but like this kid pitched 200 innings in the last 3 weeks. I don't know if that's going to hold up. Do you look at things like that?
Yeah, I think all of it goes into making a quality decision. But you look at to me, it's really two main things. So every player has to have a physical prerequisite to play in your system. Everyone's system being different. If you look at the most successful organizations and franchises in the world, be it sports or be it a business, they all have a model, they all have a system, and they follow that. And the pieces become interchangeable in that. So when someone leaves to go become the CEO at the next business or company, there's a process that they have built in to allow the next person to matriculate up. Same thing here. So when we have guys drafted and move on, we have to have a system and a model that allow us to repeat success over and over and over again, right? So the first thing is, does he have the prerequisite ability to fit into our model? Okay. There's a lot of guys that fall into that category. The second piece is who you are is more important than what you are. So as much as the model is based on math and numbers and equations, and it's right, it is precise, who you are is still more important than what you are. And so as you go through, you're looking for, it's not my job to wake up every single day and to motivate you to care about baseball. If you don't care about this, that's okay. Please go do something that excites you. Now, I can help today and say, hey, remember, you care about this. I can remind you, hey, this is really important to you, and you wanted to do this, and so here's how the plan that goes about it. But if you don't love it, then leave it. That's fine. There's someone else that does. And it's just not going to make you happy or me. So you talk about having a passion to play the game. The toughness, right? The true toughness, the ability to handle adversity. I like guys. Adversity is good. It is the way, right? Through the adversity is the way that we have the success. So you like guys that have had tough things happen to them. You like guys that are individually motivated, morally and ethically, right? Can we make good decisions? Do we care about the right things? Not everyone's perfect. I've coached a lot of kids that are from rough backgrounds, and some kids that grew up in great situations, and some were tough and some weren't. But do we have the prerequisite abilities to go out and to understand that we're going to try to perform at a really high level in front of thousands of people, and sometimes on national television at a game that's based around failure, that's incredibly difficult to master, and everyone gets to sit there and give their 2 cents and their opinions on on what you did or you didn't do, and you're probably going to fail the majority of the time. Like, can you handle what you're getting ready to walk into? And so you've got to be really thorough in the kind of people that you recruit that you think can withstand that kind of a situation. Because if not, you're setting everyone up for failure. You're setting up the program and the person that you've asked to do something that's just not necessarily in their wheelhouse. So there's a lot that goes into it. You're looking. I mean, if you wanted to go into the physical traits, you're looking ankle mobility and hand size and arm length and I mean, just on and on and on and on and on. Like, it's just like it's a science upon sciences, and we've done a really good job of it. Look, honestly, done a really good job of understanding what body types work, what frames work, what personalities work with us, and putting them into our system and our model. And I think that's why you've seen us win so many games, but also have so many guys go on and have really successful professional careers too.
Now, do you have a Moneyball statistician throwing all these numbers into a spreadsheet algorithm for you? Is that how this works?
It's you laugh, but yes, actually we do.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
that's one thing that I think is crazy, and I would love to know how that kind of works, kind of behind the scenes of it, because it's just so many numbers. And I think baseball is like the statistician's like dream sport, because there's just so many things that you can plug into there.
So our baseball operations director, and also as our pitching development behind the scenes, Denton Sagerman was an aerospace engineer, undergrad and master's. Right, he literally should work for NASA, but he decided he wanted to work in baseball, and so I'm gonna have to grab a phone charger. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
I'll be right back. Sorry.
So for those of you who are listening, tomorrow we will have Benji Betts on. Former FCHS athlete and Franklin College grad as well. So we'll have him on as well. And then we're kind of stuck, Chaz.
I know. It's we're gonna be staring at walls. We're gonna have to talk to ourselves.
We're gonna get some others. Hey, Jeff, before you answer that question, are those shorts or pants?
Oh, they're shorts.
Nice.
Candy striped shorts.
So if I send you my address, can you give me some of those?
I'll see if we have any extra of the team issued gear.
Yes.
I'll make some phone calls.
Yes, send me some team issued gear. I will wear it so much you do not even know. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. That was actually one of the questions I had for you was about advanced analytics, because it did say that was in my research. It did say you were a big proponent of that.
So with Denton can help us with a lot of understanding the numbers. So for us, if you look at baseball, maybe unlike any sport, baseball is just like a repeating algorithm. The situations repeat over and over and over again. And so you look at like guys left-handed versus right-handed, but really just time to first base, time first to third. You're looking at the ability that balls put in play, strikeout to walk ratio, on base percentage, slugging. Where it's like if I have a guy who's left-handed, he runs a 4-1 to first base. He walks more than he strikes out. He hits the ball on a line 60% of the time. Like that's a guy that over a period of time will change the game fundamentally from the standpoint that compared to a guy that runs a 4-4 or a 4-4-5 and strikes out 10 times more than he walks, and has like a 40% line drive percent. Like he will create so many more runs over the course of a season just based on how he goes home to first or first to third. And so like, how do you repeat that over and over and over again throughout the course of the lineup, throughout the course of the season? And so you're looking for profiles, and Denton helps to do that. But we also, as coaches, are out there. I mean, that's what we sit there and talk about. That's what we value. So that's what we should recruit. And then we get those guys in. Then you have to help to teach them that information. And it's like, this is what we need to value. This is how we produce the results that we have to produce. This is the pitch selection. This is your heat map and your strike zone awareness. These are all the things you have to do. It's just like a long litany of items and process to be able to have this guy fit exactly what he needs to do for his part of the algorithm to work. And then you go to the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. And over a period of time, that's how you obviously put an offense together, or you do something with the pitching staff when you're looking at different tunnels and in pitch selection and shape based off of pitches and spin rates. And I mean, it's incredible the amount of information. It's insane. It's literally insane. But like if you look at it, so our last year at Wright State, my last year at Wright State as a head coach, we led the country in runs scored in the first 3 innings, which doesn't seem like, man, it's a nice stat, but why is that important? So it's based on scouting reports, right? And it's based on the ability to be able to teach kids to do what they need to do against certain pitch types, right? So it's like if this guy's so the average spin rate on a fastball is like 2,200 to 2,300, right? More like 2,100 to 2,250. So that's like the rotations of the fastball going this way. So if I've got a guy that just has a pedestrian fastball rotations like this, it's a much easier fastball to hit. If it's a 2,500, 2,550, what it does is it defies gravity as it comes to the hitting zone. So it doesn't drop like gravity normally causes fastballs to drop. If I have a fastball that's below that number, so let's say I had a 1,700 or 1,750 or spin rate on his fastball, then that's a sinker, right? So you have like a sinker, you have a regular fastball, then you have a high RPM like a rise fastball. So you take all those numbers and you take his extension rate and his release height, and you say, this is what it's going to look like. This is how it's going to operate. This is what your swing needs to do, and go attack this guy's plan. He throws this pitch in this situation, right? You have all that information, then you apply it in real time to a guy's his strengths and weaknesses as a player. And so as you can see, like if you lead the country in runs scored in the first 3 innings, you're the best at applying that information to the game. Mm-hmm. And then how that changes everything, obviously, is if you knock the Friday night starter out in the 5th inning, and now the mid-relief arm has to come in, now he's burned. Now your setup guy has to come in, now he's burned. And so you push everything forward, and then by Saturday or Sunday, those guys are in a terrible position. So right. I saw a stat last year that our coaching staff in the last 3 years, in 3 years, we've lost 2 series in 3 years and in conference. So it's like 28-2 or 35-2, some crazy number. And it's because over a period of time, if you have that information and then you can apply that, you just you can't break the algorithm. It just works. The numbers repeat itself enough, they just work. So if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you have, because like you said, there's so many stats you can do for baseball. Is there one that's just like a completely random one that's like your favorite to like talk about or like dig deep into that like no one besides a coach would know about?
I like this is pretty normal, I would say, but free base to strikeout, and then pitches per at bat.
Okay.
I mean those are pretty standard. Trying to think about what else would be unique. Mm-hmm. I think the one thing that we look at a ton that's unique is just like the body type and the mobility. Mm-hmm. So you guys are like, I'll talk about like ankle mobility, and they're like, what? I'm like, that guy's not going to hit like his front shoulder stiff, and it's like, what are you talking about? Or like that guy's not going to hit his his hip tightness is not going to work, or whatever it is. Like those kind of things, understanding basic biomechanics, how the body works, is where baseball is going, but it's not mm-hmm. where it's been.
Right.
And that part, I think, if you're looking for something that's unique, that part is really unique.
So it's like you always picture in the past. I mean, it's just completely changed the game because it's always like he's got 40 home runs. Yep, sign me up. And now it's so much more than that. It's he's got 40 home runs right now, but in a year and a half, his shoulder's going to be gone or something like that. Or
he's got 40 home runs, but it's like when does he hit those home runs?
Yeah.
So it's like, does he have 37 solo home runs? Okay, so one of those solo home runs, it's like he hit them on Sundays against the back end arm that's not like everyone's worn out. Like he's hitting them against second rate arms with nobody on base in leverage counts. It's like, so this guy can't hit with guys in scoring position when it actually matters. When you hit matters. RBIs matter. I mean, you got to be able to have an at bat when the situation's not perfect for you to have an at bat. And converse on the other side is that's great. Like on the mound, like you throw 95 and you've got good stuff. Like when are you getting your strikeouts? Who are you beating? Are you winning every Tuesday game, or are you pitching on Fridays like you're the first one through the wall? And are you the guy that everyone's game planning for? Can you execute pitches in those situations? You're right.
That's awesome. That's crazy. I've never really thought of that, and just all the stuff that goes into it. That's okay. So I have a couple more questions for you. We'll get you out of here because I mean, I was going to say we've taken up too much of your time, but really in the grand scheme.
I'm good. I'm good.
So first of all, 2 questions right here. Are you an amazing fantasy baseball player? And give me your ideal season this season that was not. Tell me your ideal circumstances of what happens. Like this is we are writing the history book for your team. So you give it to us.
I played fantasy baseball one time. Mm-hmm. I logged on twice and then stopped logging on. So our pitching coach, Justin Parker, still gets mad at me. I'm like, hey, let me into the fantasy league this year. He's like, shut up, idiot. Like the last time I let you on, you logged on twice and ruined the whole league for everybody. So I'm not good at fantasy sports, but I would say, for the season this year, I really liked the personality of the group that we had. They were really tough, very dutiful, very selfless, and that carries you. It was we had 10 guys drafted last year. A lot of guys signed professionally, and so it was a really good experience. But this is primarily it's a brand new weekend rotation, a lot of new position guys, a couple transfers, but mostly just freshmen and sophomores. And so what I was excited to watch them do was to really to build the personality and the foundation of the program from their ability to work, their ability to compete, their ability to learn and to grow. And we won some games based just on those things. We beat some really good teams on the road based on toughness and preparation. And so what I would look at this team and say, okay, we grow through the course of the year. Honestly, we won more games early than probably our talent level would have indicated that I thought we would. And just watch that group continue to grow throughout. And then I would say in an ideal world, we're in the top 2 or 3 in the Big Ten going into the last 2 or 3 weeks, just like last year. And, last year we go to Michigan with the chance we're down by 3 games, and your destiny is in your own hands and their destiny is in their hands. And it's just whoever wins the last 2 weekends wins. And we did. We won 5 out of 6 down the stretch, and they lost maybe 4 out of 6. We won 2 out of 3 at their place, and we lost in like 12 innings on Sunday.
I remember I was following along that on Twitter. I was pumped.
Yeah, because we went up there down 3 games, and if we would have swept them, we would have been even. And if we won 1, we were down by 2 games. Obviously how that swing works. So we go in and I still remember we were up by a run in the 7th or 8th of the 3rd game, and 0-2 count, and I dropped the right fielder down. It was a right-handed hitter, and we missed our spot with a fastball, and it burned our right fielder because I had him down on an 0-2 count. And if we had located it, he probably would have caught it. But I was so mad. I never get upset. I like threw a bucket. I never do that. I was so mad because I had just brought the right fielder down.
Yeah.
And here he gets over his head. Then they went on to tie it and then won the game late. And then the last weekend we swept Rutgers and I think they lost 2 out of 3 to Nebraska. But I kind of look at it this year. If I would have hoped that we would have been in that position to try to win it late in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And then, the great thing about being in a place like Indiana is you're always going to have the RPI to be on the conversation to host a regional. And if you host a regional, you win 66% of those regionals. So if you host, you have such an advantage to go to a super regional, and the same thing from a super regional to the World Series. So for us, your midweek games are the Missouri Valley. Indiana State's going to be really good, and you're going to play Louisville and Kentucky, and you can get good teams that come over on a midweek. And then our conference has a good RPI. And so you're not gonna win 2 or 3 games and drop in the RPI based on your opponent. You're going to continually build a resume to host. So I would hope that we've been in the conversation to host, and then hopefully host a regional and try to make a run from there.
I got you. I think it would have happened, and you probably would have won College World Series. So we're just going to go with that. I'm going to put you in the book as that.
As national champs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the way you operate.
I mean, that's what IU. I mean, IU basketball would have gotten on a roll. I mean, it's the way it would happen. Okay, I lied. I thought of another question. With the scholarships and everything, how is that going to affect you? Have you talked to any guys? Because you have, I don't remember his last name. Paulie, is that right? Paul, is that who it is? Who's the guy I'm thinking of? You're a really good pitcher.
He's in Pro Bowl now. Paulie Milto.
Oh, did he graduate? Or
yeah, he got drafted last year. Yep.
Okay, but you still have a couple guys who are borderline getting drafted. Have you talked to them about that? And what's that? How's that going to affect? Or are you just waiting to see how the NCAA plays that?
So as of right now, the NCAA has given an additional year of eligibility to all spring athletes.
Right.
The big question right now is what's going to happen with the draft.
Yeah.
So as of today, the draft is only 5 rounds. It's normally 40 rounds. So there's 35 rounds where the players that are either going to college or going back to college, unless they sign as a free agent, which is some guys are going to sign as free agents too. But so they're kind of in between right now. There's some guys that we have that are professional level players, but the draft is going to be different. So normally how the draft works is you're going to have your high school players will go, some will go early. And then they're gonna pool their money and make a run at high school players in the 11th or 12th or 13th because they're building up their signing bonus pool again. And then you'll see a third run usually like in the late 20 rounds, mid to 20, late 20 rounds where they have that money pooled up. Well, now it's like if this guy's good enough to sign a professional contract out of high school, you can't wait to the 11th, you can't wait to the 28th, you got to pay him now.
Right.
So how does that affect how many more guys, high school players, go early? What does that affect some of your college guys? Your college players are going to be drafted through the middle of the field first. So your catcher, your shortstop, your center fielder are going to be your first draft picks, and then your college bats will be thereafter. So I say all that to tell you that I have no idea.
Well, you got to wait and see too because they've got to expand the amount of scholarships that you got and everything, right? Because wouldn't that just?
Well, they're not going to expand the scholarships, but they gave scholarships, the ability to give scholarships to the seniors.
Oh,
so for baseball, we have a lot more rules than any other sport as far as scholarships. So real quick, I won't bore you to death, but we have 35 total spots. 27 scholarship spots, 11.7 total scholarships, and 27 scholarship spots at a minimum of 25%. So I can give 25% to 27 guys equaling 11.7. Actually, that doesn't equal 11.7, but those are the numbers for a total of 35 spots. So the point is that's so hard right now is you have seniors that are coming back. How do you pay for them? Right, the NCAA said they can come back, and they can be paid for from a separate fund, but not from your underclass fund. The draft is shrunk, so a lot of your guys that you thought would get drafted at a lot of schools, not Indiana, but a lot of schools, are not going to get drafted. And then the high school players that you were coming in to replace those guys are now coming in, but the juniors aren't necessarily going out. So that's where there's issues right now, just in college baseball in general. We're not necessarily in that position. We're in a good spot, but that's where the kind of the upheaval is coming from right now in our sport.
Another question, kind of building on that, as far as going kind of back to recruiting. Now that you don't have a spring season of high school baseball, how does that impact the guys that you were maybe on the cusp of going after, maybe going to wait and see how they do in their spring, baseball season? How does that impact you?
Well, baseball in the last 4 or 5 years has gone so early in recruiting.
Yeah.
that, you're recruiting freshmen and sophomores primarily right now. So it does affect those guys. It affects your ability to recruit them. Personally, I would like to see the recruiting timeline back up considerably. I hate the way we are right now. It's not fair for a family. It's not fair for a kid. It's not fair for us. It's just not an ideal situation to have to recruit, 13 and 14-year-olds, which is
Right.
nuts. So for us, like, we've got all of our seniors are committed, all of the juniors are committed, and so the young kids, you're gonna have time to recruit them. It certainly will push some of the timelines back, but I don't think it has a transformational effect. The big question would be for those guys that were going to go into junior college heavy this spring, and now obviously junior college baseball being canceled. So there are hundreds, if not 1,000 or more, junior college players that weren't committed, that thought they had another 3 or 4 months to play and be recruited, and now they're stuck. The junior college kids are the ones that are in a really tough spot right now.
Yeah, it's crazy because, I mean, it's a great thing that they're doing, but there's so many things that it affects. But I think the NCAA did something wrong. Am I allowed to say that on the?
No, I mean, it's the right thing. I understand. Yeah. I understand both sides of it. I really do. But the year of eligibility, and I understand all of the different side effects of all these things, where, like, there's a lot of people that have been really negatively affected by this, right? People have died, and family members have not been able to see each other. And so I'm not saying that we are unique in how we've been affected, because reality is it's just a silly game, right? Like, by comparison to what's people's lives and whatnot. But this is one thing that we could control. Of all the things that have been gone bad or wrong, this is one thing that was bad that could be fixed if we chose to fix it and then dealt with the consequences.
Right.
And that was one area where I was really happy with the NCAA and the folks on the Division I games committee, is they just said, listen, this is going to be bad. Okay. This is going to cause some upheaval, and this is going to be chaos for a while, but it's the right thing to do to allow these kids to have their year given back and to fix at least one thing that can be fixed. Let's fix it, and then we'll figure out the rest, because it's going to be pandemonium. So
yeah, that's crazy. So okay, I seriously have one more question for you, and then in chat. So we finish it out. I usually finish it out with, we leave a question where someone past the last person will ask a question of the next person, and then you leave a question for our next person. Okay. But since we were kind of,
it makes sense if you don't think about it.
Yeah. But I'm not going to do that this time, because I want because there's something else, because I follow you on Twitter, and so I noticed something about you and something that you talked about earlier. I want to give you a question from me, which I guess this whole thing has been, but in your life, there's been some ups and some big downs that you've had to go through, and how is your faith played a role in that, in your life, and dealing with those situations, because that seems to play a major role in your life.
Yeah, I try really hard, and I get I'm not perfect, and none of us are, and I made mistakes, and we all have, but I do try as hard as I can to walk in my faith in an industry, in a situation where it's not always an easy thing to do, as with all of our lives, right? All of our day-to-day lives. But it gives me a place to rely back on when I guess my foundation, when it's like I have to go and do, like, make decisions, and I have to be in conversations. I have to do things that are really hard at times, as we all do. But it gives me a place to know that, like, I've got my core set of beliefs that, like, if as long as I make my decisions, as long as I do what I need to do through this prism and through this lens and through my faith, then the decisions that I make are going to be the right decisions. And I think about it like my living. I support my family by coaching kids, and we play a game. And so if the game doesn't go well, then I don't get a chance to support my family by doing this. And so with that comes an inherent, a lot of inherent stress and a lot of inherent risk with that. And so it's easy to lose sight of who you are as a person when you're living in the whims of such a volatile industry. And so for me, my faith and the way that I try to live I try very hard to live. It gives me such peace knowing that no matter what happens, like my soul is safe, my family is safe, and that God will provide in an industry that there are no guarantees, and in a lifestyle that there are no guarantees. And um, as you tell, I talk about it, but I don't talk about it a lot, and how it affects me and why I try to live the way that I do live. But it's my foundation, it's my core. It allows me to rest easy knowing that all of this is just a game, and that my true purpose in life is to help young people better their lives, and that's where I'm okay with. If we lose, I'm okay, because like I tell when the conversation comes up, and I have to be careful. I can't talk too much about it, but when the conversation comes up with kids, my point when they ask, my point is this: like, you're gonna live and you're gonna die, right? And we're gonna go to heaven or we're gonna go to hell. And the reality is, this still a game isn't gonna matter for a hill of beans. So your batting average doesn't get to go with you, and all the money you have doesn't get to go with you, and any of that stuff. But the impact that you make on other people and the faith that you have is what God's going to evaluate how we get to spend an eternity. And let's make sure that we're making the right decisions, and let's make sure that we're having faith in the right things. And when you put life in perspective like that, then it's much easier to swallow, when you lose a game. I don't like losing. I don't like failing. I also don't value myself. And if we win a game either, I really don't care that much. But I do value myself on the faith that I have, on the way that I live, and the impact that I try to have with young people. And I think that that all comes from my faith.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of put you on the spot there, but sometimes it's hard to talk about. It's just like, I don't know, it just gives me peace. Like I know where I'm going. So it doesn't really matter. Yeah. So, Chaz, you want to get us out of here?
So my last question I like to ask all of our guests, Jeff. I'm a big movie guy, and I think you can tell a lot about a person by the types of movies that they like. You can kind of see a little bit of their personality, their upbringing, and stuff like that. So if you had to pick like 3 to 5 movies that mean a lot to you, or you really like, or that mean a lot, or yet have some kind of impact on you as a person, what do you think you would pick? Not in any particular order at all, but just 3 to 5 that you kind of really like.
Golly. It's just bad. I don't watch a ton. I like
TV shows in there too. Same.
I like Field of Dreams. I love Field of Dreams.
Just rewatched that the other day, actually.
Did you?
So good. It's good.
Like everyone says it's like I like Field of Dreams, and then you go back and you watch it, and you're like, oh, there's so many metaphors for life, and there's so many examples in that movie, and your father-son relationship. There's just so many things in there.
I grew up with my dad being my coach too, so that whole ending scene, man, it's just makes me want to go play catch with my dad every time I watch it. Like it's so good.
It really does. It really does. Golly, I don't know. I'm trying. Give me 1 second. I'll think of some.
Or even baseball movies. Favorite baseball movies. It's up there too.
What's the movie? I watched it the other day. is it Good Will Hunting with Robin Williams and Matt Damon?
Yeah.
That's a really I was
My
watching.
boy's wicked smart.
Yeah, that I watched that the other day. I watched a little bit of it when my wife was watching TV. I'm not. What are your favorite movies? What do you got? Yeah, I may agree with you.
Well, I'm a big Star Wars guy.
Okay.
Back to the Future, Indiana Jones. Those are all kind of up there for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like those. I grew up watching those.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you probably were trying to think prime time Sandlot age when the Sandlot came out. How much did that mean for you when you were a kid?
I was so like I said, I was also 4 boys, and we were always traveling playing, and so my parents we had a van with a TV in it, so we were like the Mercer bus, right? We would and so we watched like literally memorized that entire movie. That was like we had like on rotation. We had the Sandlot, we had I think we had Braveheart, and then 61 with the Roger Mayer story. Yeah. I think those 3 were like on constant revolution through the TV, but Sandlot was on there constantly, and I look back, very fondly with that.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen For Love of the Game?
Yeah. Very good.
I didn't know. I was watching it. I'd never seen it. It came on TV one time, like right at the very beginning, and I started watching it. I couldn't turn it off. I didn't know what was going to happen at the end. It's like I can't tell if they're going to win or lose, or I don't know what's going to happen. That was
really good. Kevin Costner played baseball, I think.
Yeah, he talked about in that. In filming for that, like he was actually training and was doing, I think he said he had an 86, 87 mile an hour fastball by the end of that. Like
really?
And he said I think if you look it up, he talked about he may have like blown his shoulder out doing that because he had to pitch so much.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah, because it was something that I read a story recently about it where it was like he was doing actual like pitching and practices, and he had gotten to be really good, and I swear he got hurt or something happened with that. But
and you brought up
he played at Cal State Fullerton maybe or something like that, one of the Cal State schools. Yeah.
You brought up Major League earlier, which I also rewatched recently just because I've been needing sports. I've been needing sports so bad. But Charlie Sheen also played. I think he played like junior college JUCO baseball.
Yeah, I heard
he threw like an 85 mile per hour fastball.
I heard that. Yeah. He had a good arm. He's didn't throw quite as hard in real life as he did in the movie, but still pretty hard for a guy that doesn't play baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he threw hard in a lot of other things in life, so it was he made up for it, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Jeff, thank you so much for your time. I think we probably took you way over what you intended on spending with us, but
I enjoyed it a lot, guys. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Best of luck next year when you will be back-to-back reigning Big Ten champion and reigning NCAA World Series champions. So national champs, that is fantastic. But anyways, we thank you again so much for your time, and best of luck in the future, and we'll be following along. And just thank you.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for what you're doing. It's a really cool idea. It's a really cool process. So certainly enjoyed it and wish you guys the best. And if you're ever down in Bloomington, look me up, holler at me, and come to a ball game or a practice. I'd love to have you guys.
Yes, sir.
Chaz, we're going to bring the podcast on the road.
Yes.
Go. I'll get you taken care of.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it,
Jeff.
Thanks.